There we go. Okay, so Rachel and Simla, do you want to give another introduction about yourself, just briefly before the start of our panel, just to refresh everyone's mind about your background?
Of course, I can get started very quickly. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm a director of data science at Wish, working very closely with the product management team here and leading the consumer data team. And I've been at Wish for about 6 months. And before Wish, I was at this other startup called Envision for about 3 years, where I started and grew the product data team. And then before that, I was at LinkedIn for about 6 years after grad school, finishing my PhD at Stanford. And I mentioned before, originally I'm from Istanbul, Turkey. That's where my accent is coming from. But I've been a Bay Area resident for the last 15 years, and I live in San Francisco.
Yes, and hello, nice to meet everyone. I'm Rachel. I'm the Senior Manager of Data Science here, leading the Supply Data Science team. Previously, I have worked in TrueCar in Santa Monica, Los Angeles for 5 years. And before that, I got my master's from Columbia University. I'm from China, if that was my accent tells.
Awesome, thank you both for your introduction. I'm really interested to know about your career at Wish. Can you tell me about, can you just tell me about Wish first and about your roles there?
Yeah, sure. So Wish is a e-commerce platform that is facing global consumers. It was founded, I think, about 10 years ago in 2010, and after that, it has seen tremendous growth by doing cross-border e-commerce and introducing like the low-cost directly out of factory goods to consumers around the world. It has been featuring the low price items, and it has been paying attention to the underserved crowd mostly in Europe and America, and we're seeing very good growth in other areas like Brazil and like Southeast Asia as well. So about my role, as the name tells, like we are on the supply side. So all we think about is the supply side of this e-commerce platform. Like, do we have enough supply? Do we have a healthy and growing merchant base? Have we created a very healthy ecosystem for the merchants to be participating in and to be succeeding? Even in a way, we're almost facing competition with other e-commerce platforms, so merchants' time and resources as well. So inside the company, I work a lot with our, say, like merchant-facing teams, including the business development managers and account managers. I also work very closely with the product managers that are developing, say, tools or developing products that are merchant or product related. Yeah, that's pretty much what I work on.
Yeah, I can briefly describe also what my team, consumer data team, does at Wish. As Rachel mentioned, they are mostly focused on the supply side, and we are focused on the consumer side. So all of the buyer experience from beginning to end. So it really starts with growth, new users coming into Wish, onboarding, what are the things that digging into data, we can optimize through that experience, for example, is one of the areas we focus on. After that, core navigation, search, moving in between different pages and kind of improving and optimizing that buyer experience. And after that comes the checkout, payments, and post-purchase, if our users need to do any returns or reach out to customer support. Similarly, how can we work closely with product teams and customer support teams to align with what they're building, but also use data to drive the decision making and do the right thing for our users.
Sounds really interesting. Thank you both for sharing. So what does a typical day or week look like at Wish for you both? Simla, do you want to start?
Sure. So basically, I would say Wish is a very fast-paced environment, which is very exciting. You know, on a given day or week, we're always working on rolling out new features and also brainstorming with product partners, engineers on how to best achieve that, or helping the teams make the decisions whether we roll out some experiments to all of our users or not. So I'd say on a day-to-day or weekly basis, there's definitely focus on that ongoing decisions and projects that we collaborate with different teams on that. But personally for me, in addition to that, I would say my day or week usually involves a lot of one-on-ones with my team. I really care about meeting with everyone in my team at least once a week to really understand and be able to help them with their work, prioritize, give feedback, and connect with them, especially given today's world where we're not in the same office. There's definitely meetings like with other stakeholders, product or engineering, design partners, in terms of ongoing projects, but also strategic decisions. How do we plan for the new year? What are the initiatives we should focus on? We get together, monitor our key metrics to see, are we going in the right direction? Are we making the right decisions? And then I would say, again, I try to kind of spend some time each week, block my calendar for focus time too. You can really get busy and kind of get into the weeds of things, but as in leadership roles especially, it's very important to take a step back and think about big pictures. Are we in the right direction? What are the priorities? And be able to share it with different teams. So yeah, that's a little bit of how my week looks like. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe I think like the manager's life are like more or less similar. So I'll talk from the angle of like how it looks like for my team, for like my team members. So I think first is we also always make sure that we have a lot of enough, like a big chunk of independent time that is left for, just like very high level data analytics research. So everybody is encouraged to, look for ideas, do their own opportunity sizing, and initiate new ideas. And after that, they a lot of times are working with product managers or business development managers to further develop that idea. I think for data scientists, the split between this is probably 50-50. And also we become the helpers for other teams as well. A lot of teams come and request like, hey, can I get this like really quick ad hoc analysis done? Can I get this, data pulled really quickly? So for those questions, we also try to help. And I'll say like, I encourage everybody to spend like about 20% of their times helping these. And more importantly, we constantly want to revisit our process in helping this and like making like data more self-service to the rest of the company, so that like we don't get lost in a lot of the requests, and make sure that other departments can proceed with their work like very smoothly. So that would be how I look at our work from a high level.
Thank you both for sharing. It's really interesting to see, Simla, how from your role as a director and also Rachel, your role as a senior manager, like how different they both are. And yeah, I like the fact, Simla, you make time for those one-to-ones with your employees as well, which is really important. And you manage your time. Like, it's really important that you have that focus time as well on the calendar too. So it's very hard for I'm sure your calendar's so busy as well. So yeah, it's all about managing your time as well, both, like, but thank you both for sharing. It's really, really inspiring to hear like how your typical day or week looks like, and like if anyone in the community wants to get to where the position that you are both in. It's really great to hear that. So thank you. So how, like, what kind of skills or qualities do you need to do your job?
Yeah,
And, like,
that's a good question. So I think to do first, I think in Wish, we believe that managers should be the best individual contributors if they are an individual contributor. So that means that you need to have really good data science skills. You need to know the business very, very well, even you're on like on a manager position. So I think the skills that we need is first to be a good data scientist. Obviously, you will be able to need to like look at the data very well. You need the skills to form your own hypothesis and validate those through data. You also need the skills to tell the story in easy to consume ways to the rest of the company and make sure like people can understand, follow what you're thinking and see the impact of your ideas. And on top of that, as managers, I think obviously being able to allocate your time efficiently is very important. Being able to communicate and help people remove blockers is also like a very important part of a manager's life. Yeah, that's pretty much what I can think of.
Yeah, to add on Rachel's point, I think in terms of on the data science management side, definitely we all need the foundational technical skills, stats, um, modeling or some of the programming skills to really be able to jump in and help our team members be able to help them even like do the prioritization decisions, knowing the technical side of things and how long they would take. In addition to that, I would say in today's world, not just for managers, but everyone, like communication skills is very important, especially everything is, as we're all working from home, is towards more written skills. It's very important to be able to communicate our ideas, like even through Slack or email, and, share what our recommendations and ideas are through written communication, I would say. And then the last one I would add is, again, this applies both for data scientists and DS managers as well, is product sense, I would say. The world we live in, and especially the way like Wish is set up, I believe that data scientists like cannot be as impactful unless they use the product and go through that user experience and understand the details and come up as a result, come up with the right suggestions and even ideas to dig into the data and understand. So, and help with the strategic decisions for the teams that we're working with. I see from the chat that there's a question relevant to this from Joe. Do your teams focus in specific areas, A/B testing, model creation, or do they work across different parts of data science? I would say our teams definitely do a little bit of everything. On a day-to-day basis, like we do lots of experimentation, A/B testing, like helping set up the experiments, analyzing them, and as a result, make those rollout decisions. And then I would say another area is like really success metrics definition and monitoring across the company, but also for different product areas. And then the third piece, like I would call them like deep dive and modeling. It's more looking at the big picture, understanding how do we retain our users, building, for example, like churn models to be able to predict who is likely to churn. So what are the actions we should do as a result of that? Or how can we change the flow or product or personalize our product to change that?
Yeah, and I would say that's great points, and I want to add on to that to kind of like stress like being able to see the big picture and being able to connect dots throughout different parts of the company is a very important skill for data scientists. That's why within our team, we always really encourage people to be rotating among like different projects. So like when you are working on this new area, you can think of like, hey, there is actually an opportunity to link this like last project I was working on to the new one. A lot of times the solutions are extremely original and creative in the companies. So that's like one of the like talent building system that we have. At some point we even talk about like rotating managers, so different teams, so that as a manager you really know what is going on with other parts and have that expertise to help the company make better strategic decisions as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. It is important to do those rotations so you can like learn new things for the employees to learn new things and also see what it's like in other sides of the business. No, that's really good that you do that and Wish. So I've something else to ask here. So how did you start with your current role, and where did your interest actually start with data science?
Yeah, I can go first. When I started grad school and my PhD studies in operations research, actually my first thought was I was going to stay in academia and continue in that route. But a few years in, I actually felt that academia was like exciting, but at the same time, very slow paced for me. And I would even say a little bit lonely. Usually you collaborate on projects, but at most 2 or 3 people. Projects take 6 months to years, sometimes multiple years to finalize. So when I realized that I wanted to explore, so I definitely used internship as a means to explore different opportunities from where I was. I did actually, my first internship here in US was in HB Labs. It was a hybrid. So they were doing research, but within a bigger company and much more collaboration. So I remember I spent the whole summer actually scraping data from YouTube. I had this project around like, how do we predict popularity of YouTube videos, like which ones are going to be popular within the first few days of information, of likes and views, etc. But I remember I was there for 3 months, maybe 2.5 months was like collecting the right data set, and then a few weeks just like sharing the results, writing an article. And then the following summer, I did an internship at LinkedIn. This was about 10 years ago. LinkedIn was still an 800 people startup. The data team was just in the very early years. I don't know if you're all interested, like DJ Patil, who's very vocal about data science, was leading the team there. And it blew my mind. I went there, we had access to all the data right away. And, you could literally decide on a project, play with the data and roll out like within weeks. To me, it was mind blowing. And I remember my first project there as an intern was, back at the time, they were like, oh, there are people who have like multiple current titles. It's, data scientist at Wish, but advisor of the startup or in the board of this other company. So how can we decide which one we should order first or show first? And I remember I was like super excited to work on it. The data was there and we even rolled it out, within 3 months before I finished my internship. So that fast cycle, access to data, and the collaboration around it, with different teams, and I learned so much. that was it for me. I was like, okay, I know what I want to be. I want to be data scientist. So I remember like going back to my advisor and saying, I want to graduate. And that's it. I found what I want to do. So, and I basically wrapped up my PhD like within a year and joined LinkedIn as a data scientist. Yeah, that's kind of how my career in data science started.
Yeah, and as for me, I had a more or less similar story where I went to Columbia University, hoping to get a economics PhD into that track. But I ended up not getting into that because I saw these opportunities working that back in 2015. That's when I was graduating. The tech industry was booming and it looks like really interesting. I think like throughout my time being a student, I was always exploring different things. So I have done quite a lot of like different internships back in college, in consulting, in finance, in like doing actual research, those kind of things. And then I knew that because I came from a mechanical engineering background, I know that I want to still be able to, apply my training in like the STEM field to in my work. But at the same time, I know that I probably don't want to be like a mechanical engineer or like an engineer focusing on, like really solid like engineering projects. So that's why, I think like back in like 2013, 2014, data scientist, it was still like a very new word. As I think at some time like people still were like mocking it, saying like, data science is this thing like everyone has heard of and no one has seen and things like that. But it sounded like a really interesting job to me. And I know that it is a very kind of like, you need to be able to apply knowledge from different fields to do well in this job. So that's how I started choosing this as my career. And I've always really liked the culture that these tech companies has established. It felt like as a young person, like first starting your career, you will be able to start contributing very quickly and feel like the organization was really flat. So I think that all contributed my decision of start working as a data scientist in the tech industry.
Thank you both for sharing your career journey. I think it's always really inspiring and valuable for our community to hear how leaders like you got to where you are. And there's been challenges, and it's been a big challenge to get to where you are. And it's really inspiring to hear. So thank you both for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think,
there,
sorry, I think we have two questions from
yeah,
Lauren and Joanna.
yeah.
And
Lauren said here, I'll read them out here. So Lauren said, so this is going back from the previous question. What sort of metrics do you use to measure employee personal development within a data science team?
yeah, I can take a stab at that one first. So I think we established a culture to be very impact driven. So as a data scientist, you really you not only need to do analysis and make suggestions, but the best data scientists will be able to turn in their analysis into reality. So the kind of impact is very important. Also, as a data scientist, you have like so many different projects to be choosing from. So how we always make sure that you're working on like a project that is potentially 10xing our revenue instead of like making marginal improvements or just like optimizing in on a really low level. So that is, I think, the first and foremost most important metric. Other metrics that we use, I think, when we're doing, say, like we're checking like employees' performance development, include their technical expertise, their ability to communicate across the function, and their influence and impact to their coworkers, including both like people within their team, how much they've helped them, and also people outside of the data science team, like how they're able to use their expertise to influence the rest of the organization. Yeah, Simla, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think basically, in addition to everything that Rachel covered, we do, you know, send out surveys to our teams to really understand, um, you know, kind of where they're at and what is missing, what they're looking for next. So, these anonymous surveys that can always be helpful to understand, what can be better and or what is going well. And then for sure, there's a lot of cycles around, like even in individual one-on-ones, being able to give, as managers, give feedback, both tactical feedback, but also discuss like career development, what skills they want to learn, and kind of these, and what kind of projects they would want to focus on. Not necessarily, these are not necessarily at the metrics level, but just describing how we're helping our teams in terms of career development.
You both. And Joanna has a question here. She asks, what kind of portfolio or projects should have someone who would like to do testing in machine learning? Is it even separable from the rest of machine learning?
I would say, they're not necessarily separable. It's generally comes hand in hand, kind of building the model and then testing the accuracy and evaluation piece of it. So definitely, in terms of portfolio and projects, like I would take it like as one thing, and do online courses around machine learning and modeling, and do each piece of that development cycle, collecting the data, cleaning it up, building the model, and evaluating and testing it. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll get back to answering a few of the Q&A questions here towards the end, and we'll make sure we have time for that there. And so the next question is for you both. What or who has helped you get to where you are, and what advice would you have for others who want to set off in a similar direction?
Yeah, so I think like I think I have I think like from when I started my career to today, I do feel like I really have grown a lot. In a way, I think work has helped made me a different, and even I say like much better person than when I was just like starting in the career. I think like one person that has really impact kind of like my mindset and my kind of like work culture is in my last company at TrueCar. This co-founder, he was like the co-founder of TrueCar. His name was Tom Pyra. I think he was just like demonstrating in his day-to-day work that a person can be, kind and compassionate and original and honest and successful at the same time. And as somebody who was just out of school, and you probably had a lot of hypothesis of like what the office life is like, seeing that kind of really positive example really helped me not only like boost my confidence in work, but also made me realize like who I want to be going forward. So I think that was very important, working with people that you truly respect, as you can always be learning from them. For people who want to set up in a similar direction, I think, I think I think people do grow. That is my kind of like the biggest lesson learned I have. So if you want to go in some direction, just keep trying and keep, everybody learn from their mistake. And at some point, you definitely will be able to get there. So I think having that face is very important.
Yeah, I think Rachel covered it really well. I actually have a very similar story too, in terms of company culture and management style. I would say Jeff Wiener, who was the CEO of LinkedIn for many years, definitely inspired me. He also set up a company and culture where, you can find it online, where he describes as compassionate leadership, where you really, as managers, understand where people in your team or others come from while they're making decisions, or reacting in different situations, empathizing with that understanding and then responding to it, is definitely something I took to heart. But in addition to that, and this is also a suggestion, I think I really recommend everyone to really find mentors for them. Doesn't have to be in their own area, maybe, if you want to learn more about management, you can connect to an engineering manager, and regularly meet and discuss even like particular situation you're facing at work or career development and path. Over the years, I would say I have collected my ex-managers mostly as my mentors. I still stay in touch with them, like back in the real world before the pandemic. I would grab lunch or coffee with them regularly. But yeah, so definitely, I think that's like they know you, but also they have more experience and they can give you really good feedback as well. So definitely my recommendation would be find mentors and stay connected with them. It's really helpful to get that feedback from someone that's not your direct manager anymore. And yeah.
Yeah, totally. Mentorship, like having mentors in your career, is super valuable. I, like you, Simla, like have a lot of mentors who are like my ex-managers, and I still keep in touch with them. And yeah, like if people out there that don't have mentors, like find a mentor. Like don't be afraid to reach out to someone and just ask them, hey, would you like to be my mentor? There's always people there to help you. Just don't be afraid just to ask.
Yeah.
How did you actually, Simla, how did you just, when you were asking for your ex-managers to be your mentor
Yeah.
and you left your companies and stuff, did you just say like, can
Yeah.
you be my mentor, or how did you approach it?
I would say sometimes it happens like organically. You don't even call it mentorship or like ask directly, can you be my mentor? But like with the kind of really reaching out and staying connected, it becomes a habit. Every 3 months, oh, I haven't met him or her for some time, like sending a note. And then usually, when you meet, you start discussing work and challenges or what you are looking for. So I would say, especially with ex-managers, like it becomes a part of staying connected. And I'm doing it now for some of my ex-team members from previous companies. I stay connected with them. Sometimes they're interviewing, they ping me, I talk to them, give them some feedback and hints. But then I also, at LinkedIn, I have reached out, actually emailed one of the women engineering managers when I had just started, being a manager. Hey, I really look up to you. Can you be my mentor? And, we were grabbing lunch together. So definitely I did a bit of both. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. I think it's always important to talk about challenges as well. So can you tell us about some challenges that you've both faced or hard times that you have came across? Simla, would you like to, or yes, Simla, would you like to begin?
Yeah, sure, definitely. In terms of challenges, I would say as manager, maybe the main challenge I faced was adjusting to working remotely and doing that successfully as a manager during that shift. I actually did that shift much before the rest of the world. InVision was a completely distributed company. All the employees were all around the world, and we didn't have offices. You know, I believe like when I first started managing a team in a distributed remote environment, it was definitely challenging and something to adjust to. For example, at LinkedIn, when I was in the office, like I would walk around and check in with my team members like every single day. You know, sometimes it's you know, in a meeting, from expressions or body language, you can understand how they feel and then reach out. Whereas it's very hard to be able to do that when most of the communication is on Slack or Zoom or, you know, video conference. And, you know, I would say I had to find new methods to be able to, in such a way, stay connected with my team. And that was a bit of a challenge in the beginning. And then the other one, I would say, I have two children, a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. And I think switching to being a working parent was definitely, you know, not necessarily a challenge, but kind of a shift of priorities and, you know, balance between, you know, work and also be able to spend time with my kids and help them grow. And I would say, you know, what we describe as like work-life balance. One of the great kind of hints or tip that I have learned from other working parents was that just like be present, you know, with whatever you're doing. You know, if you're at work, don't think about, oh, is my daughter who's at daycare okay right now? Or if you're with your children, don't think about, oh, I need to respond to that email or get back to this person. Just like be as present as much as possible, which, you know, I remind myself all the time. And actually it really helps, because then it reduces the guilt. When you are at work, you're fully present. When you are with your family, you're fully present. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when I saw this thing, this question, the first story kind of like popped up to my mind, and it was still like a moment I remember till today. Was like the first year I was in. It's more about like how to deal with defeats. You know, the first year I was in my career, I started like leading a project, but I had this like conflict moment with like one of the engineer managers, because like we just didn't agree on like the timeline and who does what, those kind of stuff. But I was quite young at that time, and I wasn't sure like what was the best way to deal with it. So what happened was we just started arguing in the meeting room in front of quite a lot of people, and I was pretty sure at some point we were yelling at each other. So after that, it was like one of the moments where you lock yourself up in the restroom. So I was quite like upset. I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, I'm pretty sure like, you know, I've ruined everything and those things like that. But it turned out that it wasn't really like what I thought, you know, like we were able to resolve the conflict, and eventually I think we become like pretty good friends. And also at the same time, I think I was able to demonstrate that, you know, by kind of like defending my ideas and defending my team. I didn't do it like the best I could, but still like I also didn't kind of like die, you know, like I just learned and grow from it. So I think that was one of the like my most unconfident moments in the career. So whenever I have like new challenges in the next, you know, career moment, I always think of that moment and kind of like tell myself, you know, it will pass, you will learn, people do grow, and in the end, it will be all right.
Thank you both for sharing, Rachel. That's really good. Like, it's good that you have, when you can look back on that, and then you keep, you're grown so much since that. And a lot of people will go through those challenges and things in their life, and it makes you become a better person, when you experience kind of things like that, and then you're continuously growing. But no, thank you both for sharing. So when you're looking for data scientists and look to hire them, what kind of skills should a potential candidate have?
Yeah, so I think we covered quite a lot, in the previous discussion about like having the good skill set, having the communication skills. I would add like one thing that is really important when I'm hiring is I look for curiosity, right? I think that a data scientist should be very curious of whatever is going on, and they should be going after the business instead of like being. I think no data scientist should be told what to do. So that is like one very important point I look for when I'm hiring.
Yeah, and to build on that, we mentioned it before, focusing on impact. What I'm also looking for is for data scientist candidates, like while they're describing their past projects, uh, you know, uh, from the beginning to end, explaining how did the project start? Was it their idea? Did it come from another project, data deep dive, exploration? Kind of looking for hints of proactivity, which is something very important for data scientists to be successful and individually own and drive projects and decision making. And definitely also, we do cover like technical piece, how the work was done, but also is the candidate describing like what the impact was, what actually changed as a result of that project. Did a metric move, or was it helpful to, for the company to make a different strategic decision or investment, or did it cause a process change? Really tying the work to the outcomes, and being able to tell that story is also what I'm looking for in candidates as well.
Thank you. That's really good and valuable for our community to hear. Thanks. So, I know you both have really joined Wish very recently, but what has been your highlight? What sticks out to you the most in the past year?
Yeah.
Or 5.5 months and 6 months, am I right?
Yeah.
5.5 months for Rachel and 6 months. No, wait, 9 months for Simla?
The other way around, yeah.
Other way around. I knew.
Yeah.
I knew.
I think Rachel joined
go.
just a couple of months before me. Yeah, I would say one of the highlights of working at Wish is, in today's world, you hear a lot of companies talk about like how they care about data-driven decision making, but from inside, actually, it's not the reality. The investments happen, but eventually you see that it's not actually fully part of the decision-making process. So at Wish, it actually is. And for me, experiencing that was one of the main highlights of joining Wish. Like it's a company that has really embraced data and power of data, and invested in the data science team. Experimentation is really top of mind. Every feature rolls out as an experiment, and I would say it also starts from leadership. Our team is under our CEO, and I think he really cares about using data to make both small and big decisions for the company. So it's really delightful to be part of a company and culture where data is top of mind. And then the other highlight, I would say, is the data team at Wish, and my team, one of the main reasons I joined Wish was meeting the team during the interview process, got me really excited to be able to work with them and kind of grow the team. And I wasn't wrong. I feel like I had a really great time, like both working together with the existing team members, but also hiring new team members and setting up the processes and then collaborating all together. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would say like the highlight, we are the data science team we have is a pretty new team. I built my team basically from zero, starting from March. Our big team was built starting from zero, like probably in January. And right now we already have a kick-ass team that is, already make a lot of impact in the company. So that is something I think I really like to highlight. The other thing that comes with that is because we were able to build build a new team entirely from scratch, we had the privilege to kind of like to create the culture that we really wanted to create. So I think the team culture that we have right now is really good. It's like very transparent, very impact driven, and is very focused on personal growth for each data scientist. So I think that would really be something I'm proud of this year.
Thank you both. So I guess we're coming up to the end, and we could take one more question then from our sheet, and that is just what about WWCode as an organization and the mission connected with you made you want to be part of it?
Yeah, that's a really important question for me personally. I think my view of what women can do have like changed so drastically personally in my past 10 years. I was born and growing up in China. It has a lot of like equality, but when I came to the States, the culture still really shocked me in terms of like how liberal it is and how women are encouraged to do much more. So that was like the first big change. And then when I started working and getting into a leadership role, I felt like more and more importantly about how important having like a woman role model is to really help build confidence in your career. I have read Lean In quite a couple of times, and I have bought copies to send to my cousins, to my friends, and things like that, because it really has impacted me a lot. So yes, I think young women, they need role models. When they're starting out their career, they need people who look like them, who is like standing there and talking, to make them know that they can be done at some time. And so that's what I feel like really connected to the mission.
Yeah, very briefly for me, I mentioned earlier, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and in 18, I don't know, 20 years, when she's in the workforce, I really hope that your vision comes to reality, which is women are proportionally represented as executive founders, leadership roles, and anything that we can do to help that today will create that world for young ones coming after. And if for me, if I can be a role model for other women in our area, or hopefully today anyone could get some hints or tips from what we have been describing from our own experience, is amazing, and I would always be open to do it. Yeah, thanks for creating this opportunity for us today.
Thank you. It's been an amazing opportunity just to get to meet you both and really connect with Wish and make this event happen. And I guess that's us coming up to an end now, and we're going to actually turn this event into a blog post, and all the questions that we have here that our attendees have asked, we can also add this into our blog as well, so I can send the questions across to you both, and we can add that then into the blog as well. So that means we can get everyone's questions answered. We have quite a lot here, but I just want to, yeah, is there anything else, Rachel, or I know we're coming up to we're towards the end now, but is there anything else you would like to say or add?
Yeah, I would say like for any, young female out there, I hope, just I think, in your 20s, the time you have a lot of opportunities, but also the time window is short. So, explore as much as you can and just like really learn and grow from it. I think that's what I want to convey to the young women who are listening. And for people who are interested in starting out their career as a data scientist or a wish, we are hiring. So, check out our website. And yeah, like if you're, and I saw a question about like, what kind of background do we prefer? I think, as long as you have the skills, we really don't separate any background from the other. So, just apply and talk to us.
I added the link in here as well for Wish Careers. So that's in the chat there if anyone wants to have a look at it.
Yeah.
So I've also someone asked, Rachel and Simla, is it okay if you both share your LinkedIn?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Perfect. I can get the links here and then just add it into the chats for people to add you. I think if you just search up Rachel Wang and Simla Ceyhan, you should probably find them. But I'll also add it into our data science Slack as well. Naomi posts it in a message here for anyone that wants to join our Slack and join here, and I'll add Simla and Rachel's LinkedIn to our community Slack.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you both. And a massive thank you to our attendees as well who came today, and Wish for sponsoring this event. And Rachel and Sim, it's been a pleasure getting to know you both, and thank you so much for sharing everything that we've talked about today. I'm going to start sharing my screen and just do a closing now for WWCode. There we go.